In the heart of a dense, fog-clad forest stood a solitary cabin, its dark silhouette barely discernible against the twilight sky. The forest, ancient and sprawling, whispered secrets on the wind, a language understood only by the shadows that danced between the trees. Within this secluded haven resided Thomas, a man whose heart bore the weight of recent widowhood. His days were spent in a haze of grief, the nights even heavier without the warmth of his beloved Emily by his side. The eerie silence of the cabin was a stark contrast to the vibrant life they once shared, every creak and groan a reminder of his profound solitude. The setting sun cast long shadows through the dense thicket, painting the interior of the cabin with an ever-changing mosaic of light and darkness. This place, chosen for their retirement, now served as Thomas's exile, a world away from the life he knew. The cabin, once a dream woven from love and future promises, stood as a monument to all that was lost. Emily's touch lingered in every corner, in the gentle sway of the lace curtains she had chosen, in the soft glow of the lantern she adored. Outside, the encroaching wilderness seemed to reclaim the land inch by inch, the unkempt garden a testament to Thomas's neglect. The air inside the cabin grew chill as night descended, the once comforting isolation now a source of creeping unease. Thomas could almost hear Emily's laughter, a sound as distant as the memories they shared. But as the veil of night thickened, so did the silence, until it was shattered by a whisper, soft and unmistakable. Thomas, it breathed, a voice as familiar as his own heartbeat, yet as alien as the shadowed forest that encroached upon his home. The whisper seemed to echo from the walls themselves, a figment of his grief-stricken mind, he reasoned. Yet, as the nights passed, the whispers grew more frequent, more urgent. Danger, they warned, a specter of dread that began to haunt Thomas's every moment. The voice of his dearly departed Emily, now a harbinger of unseen threats, left him restless, pacing the confines of the cabin like a caged animal. Driven by a mixture of fear and desperation, Thomas ventured into the forest by day, searching for the source of his unease. The woods, alive with the sounds of unseen creatures, seemed to watch him, the rustling leaves whispering secrets he could not grasp. The deeper he ventured, the more he felt the oppressive weight of unseen eyes upon him, a malevolence that seemed to emanate from the very earth. Each excursion left him more drained, more frayed, as if the forest itself fed upon his. It was on a night of the full moon, when the forest was bathed in an unearthly glow, that Thomas's world unraveled. The whispers crescendoed into a voice he could no longer deny, guiding him into the heart of the woods. The trees seemed to part for him, revealing a path shrouded in mist, a route unknown yet eerily familiar. The climax of his terror awaited him in a clearing, where the moon cast its pallid light upon a scene of grotesque revelation. Figures, human in form yet devoid of any humanity, danced in a macabre ritual around an ancient stone altar. Their faces, if they could be called such, were masks of shadow, their eyes pits of endless darkness. At the center of this nightmare stood a figure all too familiar, Emily, or some twisted semblance of her. Her eyes alight with an unholy Thomas, she beckoned, her voice a siren's call that rooted him to the spot. The figures encircled him, their whispers a chorus of madness that threatened to engulf his mind. Emily approached, her hands outstretched, not in welcome, but in warning. "They wanted you," she whispered, her voice laced with sorrow. "I could only delay them." The revelation struck Thomas with the force of a physical blow. The danger Emily had warned him against was not the forest, but something far older, an entity that fed on grief and despair. His presence, his sorrow, had awakened it, and now it sought to claim him. In a moment of desperate clarity, Thomas understood the true nature of his torment. The whispers, Emily's warnings, had been a guide, leading him to confront this ancient horror with a strength born of love and loss. He turned from the altar, from the nightmare that sought to ensnare him, and fled into the night. The forest, once a maze of shadow and menace, now seemed to guide him back to the safety of his cabin. Behind him, the cries of the shadowed figures grew distant, their power waning as he distanced himself from their domain. As dawn broke, painting the sky with hues of gold and crimson, Thomas emerged from the forest, a man transformed. The cabin, once a prison of grief, now stood as a sanctuary, a bastion against the darkness. In the light of day, the horror of the night seemed a distant dream, yet the memory of Emily's warning lingered. Thomas knew he could not remain in this place, haunted by memories and the shadows of ancient evils. With a heart heavy yet resolute, he prepared to leave, to seek a new beginning away from the forest that had nearly claimed him. As he stepped outside, the wind carried a whisper, a farewell as soft as a lover's caress. "Be safe," it breathed, a final gift from the woman who had loved him beyond death. The cabin stood silent and empty as Thomas drove away, the echoes of the past fading with each passing mile. Yet in the rearview mirror, the forest loomed, a reminder of the horrors that lurk in the shadows, waiting for the next weary soul to wander into its embrace. And so, the cycle continues, the forest whispering its secrets on the wind, a siren call to those who walk the thin line between grief and madness. The horror that resides in the heart of the woods remains, patient and eternal, its whispers a warning for those who dare to listen.